Welcome to being food safe. Founded in 1957, Testo has established itself as a global leader in portable and stationary measurement solutions, supporting industries across food, pharmaceutical, HVAC&R, industrial, environmental and commercial sectors. With a presence on every continent through 37 subsidiaries and more than 80 trade partners worldwide, Testo employs approximately 3,500 people globally. Combining German engineering, innovation and technical expertise, Testo delivers high-precision instruments and digital solutions that help businesses achieve compliance, quality assurance, operational efficiency and sustainability objectives. This webinar highlights for SANS, which is the Food Standards Australia New Zealand regulations, and the supportive connection with Testo Australia in assisting businesses to meet evolving food safety and compliance requirements. Food safe compliance isn't just about clean surfaces and personal hygiene. Knowledge and data are important, but knowledge alone does not change behaviour. Real food safety culture is built through accountability, leadership, visibility and daily actions. Our mission is to immerse people in the future through dialogue and collaboration, to spark change through clarity, awareness and a shared vision of what true food safely looks like in practice. Here are two examples to consider during this presentation. The first example would normally pass an audit, but is it truly food safe? That's what you need to ask yourself. Everything appeared compliant. Records were completed, procedures well documented, policies displayed. Yet on the production floor, the reality was different. Shortcuts taken during peak production periods, supervisors stretched too thin to effectively monitor practices, and critical controls assumed rather than verified. The issue is not the absence of documentation. It is the gap between compliance and behaviour. Passing an audit does not automatically mean food safety risks are being actively managed every day. Our second example, a production facility which operates 7 days a week. Office staff work Monday to Friday. On a sunny Saturday afternoon, the general manager returned to the site to collect something from his office. Casually dressed in a linen shirt, shorts and thongs, he enters the production area through a rear door adjacent to the car park. As he walks through the facility, he stops to greet staff and checks they are complying with strict food safe practices. So what is wrong with this example? The issue is leadership behaviour and cultural inconsistency. The GM has unintentionally demonstrated that food safety rules are conditional, applying to some people but not to others. Regardless of intent, leadership actions set the standard for acceptable behaviour. Staff will always observe what leaders do more closely than what procedures say. Food safety culture is not defined by policies alone. It is defined by what people tolerate, reinforce and model every single day. The naked eye can't see bacteria, but you can stop it. 12,000 incidents of Salmonella were reported across Australia in the last 12 months, of January 24 to January 25. Personal hygiene, quite simply the washing of hands, is paramount to safe food practices. Along with Salmonella, Listeria and E. coli contamination is reported on the rise across the food industry. Food safety is now evidence-based. Customers expect transparency, auditors expect documented proof, and poor temperature control remains one of the biggest risks. The food safe principles are quite clear. Cook to safe temperatures, clean and sanitise surfaces and hands, which means personal hygiene, chill foods promptly, separate raw from ready-to-eat food, and frozen simply means frozen. For example, a supermarket accepted a delivery of ice cream not quite solid, just out of spec for the product. The pallet sat on the loading dock for about an hour and was then moved into a cool room as there was a backlog of products to be loaded into the freezer. Frozen overnight, then put out on display and sold. At this point, no loss to the business. But is it safe food practice? Stockroom staff received training on handling perishable goods in accordance with the Federal Register of Legislation 3.2.2 and 3.2.2a. The question for you is, when did you last check over the legislation? HACCP is a global guideline to assist in becoming food safe. Product recalls are one cost associated with improper food safety management systems. In recent times, recalls have included contaminated salad leaves, ready meals, small goods, cafes and restaurants, deli products, greengrocers, butchers and wholesale food manufacturers, just to name a few. The biggest fiscal outlay is reputational or brand damage, with the growing use and exposure that social media brings to the mix. There are many food safety standards around the world: European, US, UK to name a few, but the FSANZ standards are one of the most stringent standards designed to protect the health of all Australians and New Zealanders. There was a case, a small food operator in New South Wales earlier this year who received a penalty notice in relation to poor temperature control. Cost to the business, $2,000, plus the loss of customers following their exposure on social media. At what cost? 2013, in Canberra, a restaurant recorded 140 cases of salmonella poisoning. And back in 1995, a South Australian small goods company recorded 1 death and 22 long-term negative health issues due to E. coli. FSANZ standards evolve around food safety management, and that's where you should start with your food safety journey. The policies, the procedures that need to be followed are clearly stated in the FSANZ regulations. Controls and documentation that ensure food sold by a food business is safe for consumers. Food safety is regulated under a 3-tier system. Tier 1 is Australia, New Zealand, or FSANZ. Also in New Zealand, the Minister for Primary Industries, or MPI. Tier 2, state and territories. In Australia, the regulatory bodies are generally the Department of Health. And in Tier 3, it's local government. Here in Australia, there are no Tier 3 across New Zealand. Modern technology, including data monitoring equipment in chillers, freezers and handheld instruments, can support simplifying food safety in any food operation to allow being food safe, compliant, and importantly, to allow operators the ability to focus on providing safe and quality food items. In closing, with the right food safe culture and up-to-date technology, the earlier examples would have a different outcome. Remember the GM that dropped by to pick up something from the office and the ice cream just out of temp on delivery. Thank you for joining me. I'd like to invite you and your colleagues to our next webinar on being food safe. Additionally, our upcoming podcasts and national roadshow. Details will be confirmed. If you have any queries though, please contact your local Testo office or contact testo.com.au.